This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr. Welcome to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by SIG Sauer. My guest today is my friend Eli Crane. Eli is a former SEAL who founded Bottle Breacher. You may have seen him on Shark Tank. It's an awesome episode, so check that out if you have not seen that. They started making 50 cal bottle openers right here. So go to bottlebreacher.com, check these out. These particular ones are on the jackcarrusa.com website. So you can check these out there. And also, what kitchen is complete without a frag grenade bottle opener? Yep. Bam. Got to have one of these. And Eli's just an awesome guy, SIG ambassador, and he is running for Congress from the state of Arizona. And you can go to elifораrizona.com to check that out. So we recorded this back in January of 2020 at the last SHOT Show, where we were all there in person. So enjoy the podcast. And now, without further ado, Eli Crane.
I'm here with Eli Crane.
Thank you, brother.
What is up, dude? Thank
Appreciate
you so much
it.
for being here.
Hell yeah.
And of course, of Bottle Breacher fame.
That's right.
Former SEAL. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. I'm so excited to talk to you. And this is another reason why I love podcasts, is because it gives us, it forces us to sit down, to turn off our phones, and to just have a conversation. Something we wouldn't do out there.
Pretty rare nowadays.
Exactly. If we were passing each other on the floor, because we're at SHOT Show 2020, and if we were passing each other on the floor, you know, we do a little bro hug and say hi, and ask a couple questions, and then look at our phone, and someone would be texting, and then off we would go.
Right.
But because of this, we get to take a breath and hang out and talk and probably ask each other questions that we wouldn't just in passing or wouldn't over a beer, if we're grabbing a drink after the show or whatever else. So
love it.
Dude, I'm fired up to be here with you.
I'm fired up too, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And I guess best place to start would be beginning. Why don't we just kick it off a little bit of your background and take us up through SEAL teams and a little bit of that. We'll get into that transition.
All right, sweet. So for me, I was one of those, young Americans that was going about my life, and then 9/11 happened. I was actually a senior at the University of Arizona, studying sociology of all things.
Nice.
Because I was super interested in society and whatnot, but even I do like that. But I more so was a sociology major because I was told it was the easiest major to get my degree, so that I could go into the military and possibly have a shot at being an officer and a SEAL and all of that at the same time. And then so 9/11 happened, and then I joined the Navy the next week.
Wow.
And looking back on it, I'm proud of what I did, and I'm glad I did it. Look, I will be introspective and say that I think I definitely needed more time to mature, and that definitely showed up. That result showed up when I tried to go through SEAL training the first time.
Oh, wow.
BUDS class 242.
Okay.
I did not make it all the way through training. I actually was a post-Hell Week guy. I made it through our hardest part of training.
No way.
And then I was dropped from training a week and a half after Hell Week, and I deserved it. And I'm glad. Looking back on it now, I'm so glad that they held the standard. They looked at me. They said, "Young man, you're tough. You're strong. Obviously, you made it through Hell Week." But we need the best of the best here, and you're not measuring up. You failed this, you failed that, and you're ranked in the bottom 25% of your peer evals. And so, that was a tough pill for me to swallow. And like a lot of young men and a lot of young women who haven't learned to take accountability yet, I was one of those guys that said, "Oh, well, that wasn't fair. Or they should have rolled me back and given me another shot." But as I got more away from that situation and grew up and got my man bones, I realized, you know what? You got exactly what you deserved. And had you shown up to training, ready to go and, work even harder for it, you would probably be a team guy today. And so for me, I went to a ship, the USS Gettysburg, for 2.5 years.
Wow. What was your rate? Did you have rates back then?
I was a gunner's mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like to call it a floating prison. But you meet some great dudes in the fleet. There's some phenomenal guys out there, and I really enjoyed that. I grew up. It was a lot of tough love and just – it was a rough life. It really was. I got an opportunity.
Deployment with that
Two
ship?
deployments with that ship.
No kidding.
Yeah. And then I got an opportunity to come back and class up with BUDS class 256. But to get the opportunity to come back and go through training again, the Navy, in their infinite wisdom, made me sign up for another 4 years. So I was faced with one of those crucial life decisions, like, hey, I could go back to the hardest military training in the world where my chances still aren't very good. I could get hurt. I could fail something. And if I fail or don't make it, I'm coming right back out to this floating prison, which I hated. So that was one of the most difficult decisions I ever had to make. But I was doing a lot of praying at the time. And I was like, Lord, please put it on my heart, whatever you want me to do, because I do not want to try and do things on my own anymore. If this is what you want me to do, open the door. And he gave me the opportunity, and thank God I went through right through with Buds Class 256 and got the opportunity to go to SEAL Team 3.
No kidding. And you show up as a new guy, so now it's 2004?
So 2006,
now.
And right after SQT, which is SEAL qualification training, I went immediately to SEER school and then immediately to Iraq. And I joined Bravo Platoon at SEAL Team 3 and Rourke Denver, who was in the Active Valor and wrote his book, Damn For You. He was my boss. He was my OIC. And so I got to work for Rourke for about 3 months. That was a really good experience. And then I came right back, and me and this guy over here, Nate Rose, we got thrown into Delta Platoon under Chris Kyle. And so we were Chris's new guys, and there were 4 of us new guys. And Chris, anybody that knew Chris knew he hated new guys. He just felt like there was a passage, and it was not going to be easy, and I'm going to make you pay for this, and because that's what happened to him, right? And he was just ornery anyway. But so me and those new guys, man, we paid the man. They carried around a green book called the Book of Woe.
We had a book
green
of woe.
Notebook called the Book of Woe,
Yep.
and every infraction, everything that we did wrong was jotted down in the book.
Yep.
And then we ended up paying for it at Kangaroo Court and beyond.
Old school.
Right. And it was crazy, man. There were rules. Like, you had to be within, even if you were on your off time, you had to be within any bar in San Diego in like 20 minutes, ready to buy drinks, get choked out, and just, anything they needed, So it was a eye-opening experience because I was married at the time.
Oh, wow.
I was like the only new guy that was married. And so I'm like, babe, I know I'm not here a lot, but now I have to go and get choked out and buy a drink. Trust me.
And she's like, that makes sense.
She's like, what? Why would they do that to you? That's not even nice.
I mean, now I can kind of see your perspective.
And I'm like, babe, I know it's not nice. This is not a nice world. And so, but anyway, we did that deployment. If for those listening, if you watch the movie American Sniper, it's the 4th deployment in the movie where we ended up going to some of the platoon ended up going to Solder City, and it was some pretty intense stuff there for a little bit. But after leaving Chris Kyle's platoon, I stayed in Delta Platoon for one more pump, and I went from being one of 4 new guys to we had like 11 new guys, and I was one of the only older guys. So I tried to take the little that I knew and give it back to these guys.
You have some experience. It's not like the 90s when you just had a deployment where you went to Thailand or something like that. You had combat experience. You're coming back, and now you have something. You have something to offer. Now, and you guys did another deployment. Yeah,
I did. So I went to Fallujah in 2010 for my final deployment. And I was kind of bummed because my main goal in the teams was to become a sniper. And I finally became a sniper. And then in 2010, we were no longer allowed to take our guns out. Really? They were basically like, we want to de-escalate this situation and then hand it off to the Iraqis. We don't want to. Anytime you throw snipers into a mix, you're not de-escalating anything. Okay. It's going to get a little rowdy. But it was cool because on that deployment, I didn't start making wise decisions till I got older in life. And some would say, Eli, you're still not making wise decisions. But I actually made a pretty wise decision on that deployment. I said, I'm going to re-enlist for 4 years, even though I know I'm done deploying. Yep. Like, I'm done with this whole thing. I just want to give myself time to prepare for the next step. And so I got to go to a couple shore duty commands. I went to the recruiting directorate where we raised awareness around the country because you can't recruit a SEAL. If you have to try and talk a guy into, hey, you're going to come here, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. No, that guy's going nowhere. He's going to be ringing out quick.
Agreed.
We actually try and dissuade him, but we tried to raise awareness within a bunch of different communities, like water polo communities, swimming communities, wrestling communities, young men that had a tendency to do really well in our training. And so I did that job for a while. It was really cool. I actually one of my favorite things about that job was that I was afraid to speak in front of people, like a lot of people. That's like the number one fear in the world is public speaking. And so I had to learn to speak to people, which was phenomenal.
Did you do that course? Did they bring in that
Gary?
guy?
Yeah, Gary. Yeah,
Okay.
dude. Gary's the man, dude.
Yeah, a lot of people have gone through. I didn't get to go through any of his training, so I'm just baptism by fire. But people speak so highly of it.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. And so you guys know, any SEAL instructor nowadays has to go through a public speaking course before they can ever get up in front of SEALs and teach, which I think is phenomenal.
Yep.
And so from there, I went to my final stint in the Navy was at VBSS, Trade Group 1, and so I was teaching guys how to take down ships. I became like the LPO of VBSS, and weirdly enough, that's what actually did probably the most preparation for me to run a business, because
managing people, managing
so many
schedules.
people, and so many people, so many schedule, so many things that I couldn't control, so many variables, and it was just like I was so grateful to get that job, because it really made me step up my game to stay tight, make sure that all my X's were crossed, and everything was good to go. And then also contingency plan. Hey, what happens if this plane doesn't show up that's supposed to drop these guys in the right spot? What happens if this boat engine goes down? How are we going to flex? How are we going to roll to the next opportunity? So that was really beneficial to me. And then while I was at that command, I started Bottle Breacher.
Okay, so where did you first see a bottle breach? Where did you first see a 50 cal round that was meant to open a beer? Because I know where I saw my first one.
Yeah.
Where did you get the idea, or where did you see your first one? Then did it percolate on it for a little bit and show up again later as something that you think people might be interested in, or how did that work out?
Right. So my little brother, one of my heroes, he really smart kid, went to the Naval Academy, then went to the Marine Corps, ended up flying Cobras and then on to Super Cobras, and now he's a lawyer in New Orleans. But he went to the PI, the Philippines, I think it was in 2009, and he saw one at a street vendor had one. He was selling them, and so Gabe brought me back a 50 cal bottle opener. I thought it was one of the coolest gifts I'd ever received. And, and so, and all my buddies that would come over to have beers with me, I'd pop that out of the junk drawer. I'd open their beer, and they'd be like, "What the hell is that? Where did you get that?" And I was like, I don't know. I got it in the Philippines, and they're like, "Can I buy one?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never seen them in the States." And so it was actually maybe a year and a half later, after receiving that gift, that I decided, hey, this is really cool. There might be something here. I think we can make this way better than it already is. And so I came home. I was actually driving home from LA. I just had one of those epiphany moments. Yeah. I get a lot of them while I'm driving, oddly enough. And I was like, I came home, said hi to my wife, and then I went out to the garage, and I took the generic 50 cal bottle opener that my brother gave me from the Philippines. Yep. I spray painted the thing black, and then let it dry. And then I took a Punisher sticker, because that was our platoon logo at SEAL Team 3 Delta Platoon, and I put the Punisher sticker on the 50 cal bottle opener. When I took it to work the next day with me, guys freaked out. They were like, "Dude, this is the most badass thing I've ever seen. I want 5 of them for every guy in my family for Christmas. Nice. Can you handle that?" And I was like, "Dude, if these guys who are in my opinion, the coolest dudes in the world, who get stuff handed to them constantly, whether it's your shoes, your jacket, whatever, you want Navy SEALs wearing your stuff, right? And owning your stuff." And so I was like, if these guys are willing to buy them off me, there might be something here. And so that's when the entrepreneur light bulb clicked on. And so I started, I thought, you know what, this is a cool product. If I can figure out how to market it to maybe a farmer or a hunter or a fireman or a cop, and so I started going to work on, really taking them visually to the next level and trying to put something on it that would pull you in to be like, yeah, that's not only cool, but it represents what I do and what I'm passionate about. So, we started with stickers, of all things. And that's for those of you out there listening. I mean, it's like crawl, walk, run, right? We heard that in the SEAL teams all the time. A lot of times in new product development or in a business, even if it's a service or product driven, a lot of times you just crawl before you walk, before you run. And you don't need $1 million and a staff of 20 people to start something that's going to turn into something. Sometimes, like me, it's with a Dremel tool, a vise in your garage, a 50 cal, and maybe some spray paint. And so that's kind of how we started it. And it was funny because my initial goal when we were starting this was $500 supplemental income for a date night or maybe my next SIG Sauer.
That's right. That's right.
And so first month, January 2013, we did 375. I was like, dude, we're almost there.
We've
almost made it. And so 6 months later, we had eclipsed what I ever thought this thing had become, and we were doing like $7,500 a month.
Nice.
And right at that moment, Jen and I were watching Shark Tank.
Yep.
That was we had 2 small kids. I was a SEAL instructor. Jen had an online business. We would let ourselves watch one show just to kind of decompress because we didn't have a lot of free time. Shark Tank was the show that we would watch. And so I remember watching an episode of Shark Tank, and Mr. Wonderful was tearing apart an entrepreneur because he had no brand recognition on his product.
Okay.
He had it on the package, but once it left the package, you or I, the consumer, could no longer look at it and be like, what is this? Is this a bottle breacher? Is this a SIG Sauer? Is this Nike? What is it? And so I remember him tearing that entrepreneur up. The guy didn't get a deal, even though he had really good sales. And I looked at Jen and I was like, babe, we got to figure out how to get bottle breacher on every single unit leaving the garage. Yeah. And so I started doing research, led me to laser engraving. And, I went, and this is another kind of big life decision that I made. I had enough in savings where I could have gone and bought a used engraver, but I didn't want to risk my family's nest egg on an unknown, something that I hadn't tested. I didn't know if I could even operate it because I'm a caveman, right?
I get it.
And so what I did was I sold my chopper. I had a 2004 Big Dog K9 chopper, just some badass bike. Something I could see Jack Carr maybe cruising around in your next book.
Did you use a reenlistment bonus for that like I did?
Yes, sir, I did.
I did too.
Yeah.
The Fat Boy. 2003 Fat Boy, I think it was.
There you go. So what I did was I sold the bike and I bought the laser engraver. So Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad would say I sold a liability and I bought an asset. And that's a great little nugget for those of you entrepreneurial-minded listening to Jack Carr's podcast. And so within
a depreciating asset too.
Right. Within a month and a half, our sales went from $7,500 a month to $24,000 a month.
So awesome.
Within a month and a half, and it was just like boom! It just blew up. And at that point, I knew that this was not only going to be just supplemental income or exceed my expectation, but this was going to be how I was going to provide for my family when I got out of the Navy. And so fast forward a year later, we were doing $80,000 a month out of that one car garage, and that it was just like all my friends were trying to get in on it. Hey man, I want to be an investor. And I knew that I was at the cusp of something magical, but like I was working the craziest hours, man. I had the Navy job as an instructor. I had 2 little kids under 5 years old. And then I had, I would work until 1, 2, 3 in the morning doing production. And then I would go and repeat the cycle. There were no days off, no vacations. And it was just like intense focus, for a period of time to get this thing up and running. And that's right about the time that I went and applied for Shark Tank.
You just got online and looked, or they
so
had
the first time I did,
thing?
the first time I did it, the first time I applied was via online, and I didn't hear anything back. I sent in a cool email, and then one of my mentors was talking to me, and I said, Mike, I know that if I got this damn product on Shark Tank, we would crush it. And he was like, well, he got on his computer, started looking stuff up. He's like, Eli, you know that I lived in San Diego at the time. He was in LA. He said, do you know that there's an open casting call a few minutes from your house 2 months from now for Shark Tank? And I was like, no way. He's like, you got to be at that. And so sure enough, I showed up at 12 midnight with a box full of bottle breachers ready to pitch. First 500 people got guaranteed to pitch to a casting member. Wow. And so
I was one of the cast members.
Yes. I was number 125 or something. And so,
who'd you have?
Mindy. Okay. You know Mindy?
Which one's Mindy?
She's a pretty blonde lady, and she's just really sweet.
What's her business? What's her background?
Oh, she was a casting. So I'm not talking about Lori Grenier.
Okay, got it. Okay.
I'm talking about the Shark Tank casting members.
Okay, got it.
So they're the ones that actually hear the pitches and then see who goes on the show, because they get 40,000 pitches a year. So there's a vetting process, right?
40,000.
And so, and it was funny because they told us, hey, man, only about 7% of the people you see on TV come from these open casting, things. So
where are the rest coming from?
A lot of them come from online, I think, if they, get through the cracks. And so I wasn't expecting too much, but I finally got to speak to an open casting call member, and they said, "Hey, if you hear from us, it won't be for 2 weeks, so don't call us. We'll call you." Type deal. And that was on a Saturday afternoon. I pitched to her. I had a picture of Clint Eastwood with his bottle breacher because he had worked on the movie American Sniper, and Kevin Lace, who
You gave one to him as a gift?
So Kevin played himself in the movie.
Yeah.
He was also a consultant, and Kevin asked me if I would make bottle breachers for the whole cast.
Dude.
And I was like, oh, hell yes, I will.
Awesome.
I'd be honored. And so got to do that, and Kevin did me a solid. He took a picture of him and Clint with the bottle breacher. So I took that to the open casting call. I was like, hey, look at Clint's face. Does Clint look happy?
That's
he's
awesome.
and she's like, oh my God, he does look happy.
Dude.
And I said, well, on top of that, here are these products, and you've seen them. They're beautiful, right?
Awesome.
But I said, on top of that, what would you say if I told you we've sold $80,000 of this product this month out of a one-car garage about 10 miles from here? And she's like, no way. And I pulled up my Etsy app, and I showed her the sales, and I showed her how many units we'd sold, what the profit was, all of it. And I'm like, that based with the story, the backstory, and it's like I had an email in my inbox like 7:30 Monday morning, hey, you're moving on to the next round. And then it just kept going from there. Then they assigned producers to you, and so on and so forth. And 4 months later, right as I'm getting out, I was still on terminal leave. Terminal list, terminal leave.
That's it.
I was still on terminal leave while I was pitching to the Sharks. Of course, I didn't tell the Navy.
Right.
Don't tell anybody now.
Seriously.
But yeah, because they would have never probably let me go on the show. And so I had a month left on my contract. So I wasn't working. Terminal leave means you've saved up enough leave to where you're no longer working for the Navy. But you're still getting a paycheck, basically.
Yeah. Severance pay almost.
Right.
You're on your way out the door.
And so I got the opportunity to pitch on Shark Tank. It went really well. We got to deal with Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary.
So this is where I think become aware of you, I think.
Right.
And what year is this?
This would be 2014, October.
2014, okay.
Yeah.
And
November, I'm sorry.
I forget if I saw it a bottle breacher first in that store when we come on base there in T3.
Yes,
then we had him in there. Or if it was the Shark Tank first and then I saw it in the store. I forget, but right around that same time, I saw them in the store and on Shark Tank. Somebody called me and said, hey, there's a seal that's going to be on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
There's a military thing. I'm like, oh, really? What's he doing? And they do 50 cal bottle things. And I'm like, dang it, because I had one right there in my kitchen from the PI.
Why didn't I think of that?
Exactly. And it was I got it from one of the SF guys I was working with. He gave it to me as a gift and had one of the Philippine Marine SEALs that we were working with make it. Yeah. And then he got it and he gave it to me. And I still have it to this day. It's in my junk drawer. It doesn't work nearly as well as yours. It's
probably works better. But
it's sweet. No, yours worked great. This thing you got to kind of move it around a little bit.
Right.
It's handmade in the jungle.
Right.
But no, yours works awesome. But so I had that. Someone tells me Seal's going to be on Shark Tank, and I love Shark Tank probably because I'm not good at that sort of thing. Like I would be awful on Shark Tank. Like not my thing.
Really?
Yeah. Not
that
kind
of
good.
surprises me.
Not good at all. I like more. I love the writing stuff, thinking about it behind the scenes, that sort of thing. But as soon as you start throwing some math questions at me, I'd be like, I don't know.
Black out like Will Ferrell in Old School.
Except not be able to actually articulate what he did on the stage.
Right.
It would be awful. But I saw you do that. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
One, you crushed it on there. It was so cool. Jen did so awesome.
I know.
She was great, and you guys were a great team. They loved you, and then you get the deal. And was it two of them, or was it just one?
So Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary both invested. They both still own 10% of the company to this day.
Dude, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. And then
and it's funny. It was funny, Jack, because you'll appreciate this. I went in there. We'd learned in the SEAL teams that one is none, two is one, and redundancy is everything. So I wanted two Sharks, not just one, but two.
That's
and so
awesome.
we were targeting Mark Cuban and anybody that we thought would be interested in add value. And I never thought Kevin O'Leary would be interested in it. I thought, he was going to tear us up like you see him do to everybody.
Yeah.
Say, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I want to take it behind the barn and shoot
loved
it. He loved it. Not only did he love it, he made the first offer. And that was the only thing that, admittedly, I didn't contingency plan for. Was Kevin making an offer. And so
because you were up there, and I remember you're like, does anybody else? I'd like to give somebody else an opportunity or something like that.
What just happened, right?
Yeah, you're like, I'd like to give any other Sharks an opportunity. And some of them laugh. They're like, what? Who's this guy giving us another opportunity with him after he's got a deal already?
Right.
So that was awesome. It was a little different than what anybody else did on the show.
That's right. Sometimes you got to push it a little bit, see what you can get out of it. And so, but it was a phenomenal experience. Then we've got to do a couple updates, which is always awesome. And we've actually, as of last year, I saw the stats last year. There was an article on CBS or something and said we were the 16th best-selling Shark Tank company of all time. And
No kidding.
we've done over 20 million in sales, and
Wow.
it's a blessing to me because I never, in my wildest dream, I never really would have thought that it would go that way. But you know how you're always goal setting. I remember telling my wife when we were still in the garage before Shark Tank, before anything, I was like, that would be my top, that was my top goal, to build like a $20 million in sales, a product that sold that much.
Well, at first it was $500.
Right. And then top level, because you know how you have like the low level, you have the medium level, and then, hey, if this thing just went gangbusters, 20 million, if we hit $20 million, man, I will consider this a phenomenal success. And so we've hit it. And I'll be honest with you, just because we've been successful or you get on the show does not mean you're going to continue to be successful. Yeah. We've actually seen a decline because a lot of these companies in here saw how successful it was, and then they came in and started flooding the market with knockoffs, and but really? That's just, it's part of the game, and you got to play it. And if you can't innovate and come out with the next thing, you're not going to be around long. And so it's like a lot of things, but it's been challenging. And not only have I got to provide for my family, but I've also got to look back and help other veterans that are coming behind me that want to do something different, and want to work for themselves, and also really push the envelope and be challenged, and just give them the little that I know. And it's been so cool for me, and it's also turned into being able to work with SIG Sauer and just so many awesome things.
Yeah, no, I see you get out there and you speak and you do and talk about your journey and all that sort of thing, which is awesome. Get out there and do that. You do a great job at it. And then how did the SIG partnership work out? Obviously, we carried SIGs in the teams, and that's why I made it into my novels. And I'm very partial to SIG because a 226 was on my side through every single deployment. And I always have a soft spot in my heart for that pistol.
Yeah.
But how did this partnership evolve for you?
No, it's a great question.
And I should probably say that we're in the SIG Sauer booth at SHOT Show 2020.
No big deal.
Yep.
No big deal.
So awesome. And everybody here, I mean, you and I have talked about this before, but what an amazing company with such great people.
That's involved. The best part about it. And I mean, they could have the coolest weapons in the world. They could have the best sales in the world, but what really makes this company what it is the people. Mm-hmm. And I just got to interview Daniel Horner, Max Michelle, and Lena, awesome. Of Team SIG, the best shooters in the world that are all here at SIG Sauer. And I told Max the other day, I said I was so surprised after meeting the three of you that not one of you was arrogant.
So humble.
You guys are so humble. And I'm like, man, that really surprised me. And, Max told me, he said, you know what, I don't think Ron Cohen or Tom Taylor would have ever let that happen.
Yeah.
And because for them, it's not all about wins, man. It's about humbleness, professionalism, and just, treating people the way you want to be treated. And when you get to hang out in the SIG, ecosystem, you start to see that really, really quickly, because, you start treating people with disrespect, you're not going to be around this company long. And that's something I love about this company.
Oh, yeah. I know, and it's evident right off the bat. First, from the outside looking in, you're seeing who's innovating in this space and who's leading in this space. Well, this company is doing it.
Hands down.
And then you go to the factory floor, and you see that person on the factory floor, and then you see the people in the middle, and then you see the top, you see Ron at the top, and everybody in between, and everybody's humble, everybody is fired up, and you can feel it as you're walking around.
That factory floor looks more like a medical facility, doesn't it?
It's crazy. It is insane.
I go back to Bottle Breacher, and I'm like, man, we got some real work to do.
It's pretty serious on that floor, but everybody's fired up. Everybody's so happy to be there and be part of this team, to be innovating, to be leading. And we've both gotten to shoot on the range with these guys and shoot with the best in the world out there. And they're so cool. They're so cool. And I need to tune up. I haven't been on the range that I've been riding a ton. Not really in the gym, not really on the gun that much like I was previously. But getting on the range and getting a tune up from the best in the world is amazing. But you're right, so humble. So humble.
Let me talk. If you don't mind, let me hijack for a second, because I haven't read fiction in probably 20 years. I just turned 40 this year, so that's about maybe even longer than that, maybe 25 years. You get so old you forget.
I know.
But so I hadn't read fiction since the Tom Clancy days, and that was like the only, like, my parents. I was one of those kids that struggled in school, not because I was stupid, but because I didn't really care. I struggled to figure how this would apply to me, but like the only books I would read were like Clancy books, right? Cool. And so that's, I really really fell in love with your books because they reminded me of Clancy. And like, I really feel like you're going to be the next Tom Clancy, only a lot slimmer and with
Well,
real
I do need to get back
experience,
in that
right?
gym.
And
Oh.
so for those of you guys out there that haven't read these, and I'm sure most of your folks have, but oh my goodness, man, I'm waiting for the next one.
Dude, I'm fired up to get the next one out there. It's one I've wanted to write since 6th grade when I first read The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell, which was written in 1924. It's a short story that is really about hunter versus hunted. And this third one, I was on the table when I came up with these 5 or 6 different ideas for the first novel. And this was one of those ideas, but I knew that the characters weren't developed enough to kick it off with this one. So Savage Son, book number 3, it pays tribute to that classic tale of hunter versus hunted and really explores the dark side of man through the eyes of the characters that have been developed in the first 2 novels. So I'm fired up to get it out there. And then, working on 4. And then, it's kind of top secret, but
I'll say it
movie
anyway.
stuff is looking good. But, you got to keep your expectations low on that stuff. So if it doesn't happen, it's okay.
Right.
But it's looking pretty good so far. And it's cool to be part of that process.
And we learned a lot about expectation management in the teams, didn't we? Murphy's Law, every time you go out the door, it's never going to be in the target's never going to be in the house you thought it was going to be. Comms aren't going to work. One car is going to have a blowout. Something's always going to go wrong. And I think that's one of the things I'm most grateful for from my experience in the teams is just figuring out how to problem solve and read and react off of what is in front of me, not what the plan was.
Right.
Planning is great, and you need a plan, but you need a contingency plan more.
Yep.
And so.
You need that with a business. You need that in life. You need that as you transition from the military. And I know you get a lot of questions about that from veterans or guys that are getting ready to get out and want to pick your brain a little bit on that or ask for some advice. But for me, it's you have to have those contingency plans. But if you also got to identify that next mission in life, that next purpose, that next passion, and not live back here in the past. All that stuff can help you as you go forward, hopefully makes you a better husband, better father, better citizen as you move forward. But it's important not to live back there. Use that's your foundation as you continue to build, as you continue to move forward, as you continue to fall and get back up stronger and move forward as a good example for your kids and everybody else. So,
I find that's one of the biggest problems with a lot of the vets that I meet is that their identity is from the past and they don't want to let go of it. Like I'm a Navy SEAL. But you're no longer a Navy SEAL.
Exactly.
So what's next? You're no longer and I know Marines love to say once a Marine, always a Marine, but it's like you've got to move past what you did, in the infantry. You got to turn the page. Yes, please do it. Apply what you learned there. Be proud of it because damn it, you deserve it. But at the same time, it's like I always tell people I never want to place my identity in something that can be taken from me. And that's why my faith is so important to me because that's something that nobody, no matter how bad I ever screw it up, and by God, I'm good at screwing up a lot of things. It's like that's something that, my faith in my relationship in Christ is something that can never be taken from me. And I know it's not cool or popular to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it because I know there's a lot of people out there hurting and struggling. And I know that a lot of them are looking in the wrong place. They're looking for they're looking for it in what the world tells them, where they can find it, and that's in money and fame and success. And I know that you know this better than anybody because you got it all, and you deserve every damn bit of it. But you know deep down that it doesn't fulfill you. And so it's something that I really like to just have courage with and incorporate because I know there's a lot of people out there hurting, and I encourage you to look in a different area.
I hear you. And it's and today there's so many, let's take it back 30, 40 years. There weren't all those inputs. There's TV, there's newspapers, there's magazines. But then this thing comes along called the internet. And then something comes along called social media. And then you're buried in your phone, inundated 24/7 with all these different inputs that might not be the most healthy ones. And then you're making decisions based on somebody else's 220-word tweet that they probably got from somebody else, that person did not put the requisite time into studying and sort of learning their history, thinking it through. And so it's an interesting time for sure. So taking a breath, being grounded in faith, and having that foundation from which to move forward, and something that will give you the courage to get back up when you get knocked down, because you're going to get knocked down. Don't expect not to. Don't expect not to take that hit. You're going to get hit. That's why with my kids, I think it's great, fail and get back up, because Don't be scared of it.
Oh,
It's all right.
goodness. It's so funny you said that because my oldest daughter, like she's going into middle school now, which was a very tough period of my life. But she'll come home, and it's funny because, like, you know, if she comes to me and said, "Dad, you know, I'm struggling with this. I'll, you know, I try and put on the love gloves, but at the same time, I'll be like, good, you know, and I try and break it down for her lovingly and be like, babe, I'm glad you're struggling now because you'll never be ready for the real world if you don't learn how to fight through it. Yeah. You don't learn how to, you don't learn how to get back up tomorrow and try and make it a better day. And I think so much of the time, you know, it's like, as human beings, we want the easy path. We don't want to struggle, you know, and I'm as guilty of it as the next guy, but, you know, I think there's so much to be said for those people that aren't afraid of failure. They're not afraid of struggle, and they actually understand and appreciate what comes on the backside of struggle and adversity. And that's, you know, according to James 1:2, that's mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. So, yeah, man, I look back on a lot of the failure that I've had, not only failing out of buds the first time, the first investor I sat down with at Bottle Breacher, you know, he passed on, you know, and I thought, oh my God, you know, and, you know, so I failed out of sniper school the first time. I was fired from Baskin Robbins and Dairy Queen in the same year.
Wow.
Can you top that?
No.
Okay, yeah, most people can. You know, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at failing stuff. So, but at the end of the day, I look at those failures for the blessing that they are, and they woke me up and they made me realize that, hey, man, you're not just going to coast through life. You're not just going to be able to do whatever you want if you want to get where you want to go. You're going to have to apply yourself. You're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to put others before yourself, and you're going to have to put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears. You know, and so I see it as just a blessing, and I think if more of us did a better job teaching that to our kids, how important that adversity and struggle really is, and persevering through that, I think we'd have a much better society.
No, absolutely. And knowing that it's going to be part of your journey. Don't expect it not to happen. Don't expect to go through unscathed. Right. You know, you're going to get those scars, and you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hit, and it's all about your character is all about how you get back up and move forward. Right. And as a good example to your kids and everybody else, they can see that. Like, look at this guy. He got knocked down. Look what he got back up, and he kept moving forward. And now look, like, you're going to get knocked down. Don't expect not to. Don't let it be a surprise. Right. When you get knocked down. So that's my whole thing with the kids. And for today, and don't let these kids get to be 25, 26, 27, and then that's the first time they get knocked down. Right. That's awful. Let
them walk through it a little bit. Don't do their homework for them. You know,
gotta scrape some knees, gotta scrape some elbows.
Don't do the science project for them. You know, let them struggle. Encourage it, and then when they come back and they're disappointed and they're frustrated, it's like, you know, walk them through why this is such an important part of it, and why that in James 1:2, one of my favorite scriptures, it says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. For it's a testing of your faith that breeds perseverance. Let perseverance continue so that you may be mature, complete, and lacking in nothing. So it actually says in that scripture, consider it pure joy. I'm not there yet. I'm not like, it's so joyful that I'm falling on my face and I'm failing. But I have gotten to the point in my life where I can at least see it in the moment for what it is and be like, you know what, this is probably going to build a better Eli. This is probably going to make me a better man, better husband, maybe a better business owner, whatever it is, and just, you know, appreciate it. Because honestly, Jack, when I walk around, and I know you do too, you run into so many of your friends and just people maybe you look up to, or industry experts out here, and I guarantee you the most successful ones out here have walked through the most stuff. It's always the same case, man. You never meet somebody at the top of the ladder that just, you know, had this hunky-dory life all the time. You know, it's just, and I know we like to front and act like that's how it is. Oh, how's it going, Jack? Oh, it's great, man. It's going fantastic. But it's, you know, it's not how it works. And you know, if you want to get where you're going, you know, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds.
And you know why it's going great? Because we're looking forward. Right. We're not looking back. We're using that. We're adapting. And we're using that those lessons learned to do it better going forward. Right. And, you know, that's what it's all about. So that's it's about getting back up and continuing on that path. And never staying down. You know, I love that line. I feel like I was a child of the '80s, so I kind of feel like I was almost raised by like Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right. But you know, in one of the latest Rockies, you know, he tells his son, he's like, hey, life's not about hard you can hit. It's about hard you can get hit and keep moving
It
forward.
It is though, isn't it?
That's all it's
is,
about.
man.
And I wanted to thank you also for being so awesome with the bottle breacher stuff we did together.
Yeah.
I know it's a small run of stuff for you, but to take so much care, energy, effort, time to make those things perfect. And what we did is we did a Jack Carr line of bottle breachers and put them on the site, and all the profits went to 5 different veteran focused foundations that had personal meaning to me and my family. So that was awesome. Those things they sold right out. Everybody loves them, and just so cool. And I sincerely appreciate all the time you took to make those just perfect. And we'll do it again.
It was an honor, man. Every time we get an opportunity to make like a special edition, it's just really cool to me that people would actually consider our product in the running for something like that. Like Bill Belichick ordered some for his Super Bowl team in
That's
2014. Awesome. He gave one to everybody that he felt like was a part of the journey. And it's just so cool every time we get to do something like that, man. It just, means the world to me. Plus, I feel like I got to meet old Jack Carr before you became too big to even talk to.
Stop it.
Yeah. I mean, I think once
it.
these movies hit, dude, it's going to be like, hey, oh, yeah, Jack's down there in the limo, dude. You're like, Jack, hey, what's up, bud?
I feel like I've been the same since I was born,
Yeah.
Like I feel like...
Well, the coolest guys in the world have. I mean, they're just like, it's like, same today, yesterday, and tomorrow. It's just like, hey, if you let this stuff go to your head, you're actually headed in the wrong direction, and you're bound for a fall, man.
I think so.
And it's like, and that's another reason I love working with SIG, because humility is like, it's a prerequisite here, and if the moment you get, start getting too big for your britches, it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah.
In life, at SIG, across the board with these books. And, I know I'm not going to see that. I know I'm going to see another great book, though, that I'm going to read in like a week and a half, which is fast for me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we know what we need to do. We need to get on the range together. We missed each other when we saw each other, but we didn't get to get on the range together at SIG this last year. So we got to make it happen at some point in the next year or two, for sure.
We got to do Camp Legion together.
Right.
That was awesome.
That's right. I came in just a couple days before it actually kicked off, and spent some time on the range with these guys, which was incredible. Shooting with the best in the world. It's humbling, and it's just such a blast and amazing. And then they kicked off Camp Legion, which was an incredible experience for people.
Right.
Like who else is doing something like that?
Nobody.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Not even surprised though.
Yeah, and they crushed it. I mean, they filled that thing up and gave people an amazing experience. SIG was all in. From the top down.
From the catering, the food,
incredible.
to Ron Cohen, the CEO, spending 30 minutes a group just answering questions, talking about the vision for the company, you getting to tour the factory, go to SIG Academy for a couple days and shoot with some of the best shooters in the world. Even Team SIG, the best shooters in the world, were out there instructing on the line. So if all your listeners, if you guys get a chance to go to one of these events, oh my goodness, Camp Legion, please, take a shot. They sell out quick. I know the last one sold out in like 24 hours. So
it was crazy.
You got to snatch it up fast.
And everybody was so great. Like we went to that dinner and everybody was there, and Ron introduced it. Matto was there. It was my command master chief at SEAL Team 2, the best master chief I had while I was in the SEAL teams.
Guy's awesome.
Yeah, and such an inspiration to me.
I was telling him because I got to interview Tom and him a few minutes ago, and I was every time I'm around the master chief, I'm like, oh man, is my shirt okay?
I know, like big line.
My sideburns are a little bit. Is this guy gonna yell at me?
Yeah, no, he was always looking at my sideburns. I like to push the limits on that sort of thing. I was always letting the hair grow a little long, sideburns, just like to make them look.
That's
I always wanted to make them look like, just to that level where they couldn't say anything. Like that was kind of my it's little victories. Like in serious school, you gotta have those little victories.
That's right.
Maybe a little juvenile, but that's how it goes. Especially when I was part of the E5 Mafia. And I guess it didn't really change. I did it as an officer as well. But yeah, let's get on the range together. And, and knock some targets down.
Love to, man.
And use some of this new stuff. And I know you were talking about the new bolt action that they have out. I cannot wait to check that out.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to get my hands on that, I think. And maybe incorporate it into a book. We'll see, but that thing looks awesome.
That'd be sick, man. Jack Carr cruising around, 6.5 pounds, fits in your backpack.
Nice.
New round, like the 277 Fury. It's like the civilian version of the 6.8. So you got the 6.5 platform that buttstock folds. You can easily fit it in your pack. And then like you have a round that's, better than any of the 308 stuff. Just phenomenal ballistics on this thing. And I think it's going to not only do well in the military, but I think it's going to do well for hunters and guys that just like to go out and shoot steel at 5, 6, 7, 800 yards. So going to be a phenomenal gun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to go take a look at it when the crowds thin out down there
I know
a little bit. And then, so where can everybody find you? Because I know you're going to interview. Who are you going to interview next?
So I got the CEO of SIG coming up here in 15 minutes.
Who's an amazing guy.
Ron Cohen, the
who
CEO.
I hope writes a book one day about his
phenomenal.
life journey and whatever he wants to do like that. I would follow that guy anywhere.
I know it.
Amazing guy.
Just phenomenal. Yeah. People can follow me, Eli Crane, CEO on Instagram. They can follow me, Eli Crane, on Facebook. If they want to follow the company, they can follow Bottle Breacher. And I also do some commentary for some political thought leaders as well. So
awesome, awesome, and easy to put in the search bar. Bottle Breacher, you pop right up.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. Everybody needs more than one.
That's right, dude.
Yeah. two is one at the very least.
That's right.
And if you have more than one room in the house that has beers in it, you need a few.
That's right.
But, dude, thank you so much for taking the time today. I sincerely appreciate it, and it's exactly what we said in the beginning. We got to sit down and talk, and I got to ask you questions that we'd never ask each other if we were just in passing or even over a beer. So
that's true, man.
So that's
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Take care. Keep crushing it, and sincerely thank you for all your support. It means a ton to me.
Thank you, man.
So take care.
Thank you for tuning into the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by SIG Sauer. Find out more about Eli Crane at eli4arizona.com. Follow him on Instagram at Eli Crane. That's CRANE_CEO. Follow Bottle Breacher on Instagram as well. You can find me, officialjackcarr.com. You can link to the merch there, Jack Carr USA, to include the Bottle Breacher merchandise as well. My latest novel, In the Blood, comes out May of 2022 and is available for pre-order now. So if you haven't done so, pre-order. It helps so much, and I sincerely appreciate it. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, be strong, keep fighting.